I'd prefer if you muted us. You okay doing that?
Yeah. Can I mute? It says Thursday, by the way, but that's okay. If you want to go on YouTube and grab the link, you can share it. Or do you need me to send it to you? What's that?
So I'm muted. I don't have the full screen. What's showing on the screen right now?
It's showing the live at 7:30.
How come I can't see that? What's going on? What did I do here? Oh, I see it.
Do you want the YouTube link or can you do it? Can you grab it?
Send the link if you could.
I have to go off my screen though to do it. That's okay. Just give me 1 sec.
Send the link if you could.
I've got it. I have to go off my screen though to do it. That's okay. Just give me 1 sec.
I got it, Jimmy.
All right, thank you.
I sent it to you. I got it, Jimmy. In Messenger.
Thank you.
We're about 9 minutes out for those tuning in. Feel free to use this as an audio test. We're about 9 minutes out. Hello, everyone. We're about 7 minutes out. Feel free to share the YouTube link with friends, family, other Bengals fans. We're about 7 minutes out. Use this as your audio test, and we'll be rocking and rolling shortly. Hello, everyone. We're about 5 minutes out from getting started here, about 5 minutes out. Remember, the chat function will be available all night if you have any questions for any of our guests. Hello, everyone. We're about 3 minutes out from going live here, about 3 minutes out.
All right, guys, we are here. How's everyone doing? Let me just get Bengal Jim and James set up here. All right, guys, there you go. We are live. Hello?
Hey, we're good. We're good. Right on time. We still have a minute. We'll just give it another 30 seconds or so here.
Yeah, just wanted to get the screen going here. We had some people in the chat wondering if this thing was live. Just want to make sure they know that we are, in fact, live.
Do we have folks in the waiting room right now?
We do. Craig is there. You want to bring him in?
Is Dave there?
Not there yet. And yeah, Craig's in now. Perfect.
Craig, welcome.
So let's get his audio turned on first. Get the chat going here. No audio from Craig yet there, boys. All right. So while Craig's getting his audio going, and we're going to wait for Dave to come on. Obviously, an exciting time to be a Bengals fan this weekend, guys. What do you think?
We talked Thursday night being, Wednesday night being Christmas Eve, and Thursday, Christmas Day was, they didn't reach at any point at any level in this draft this week at all. I think they've got 3 or 4 starters out of this mix, man. It's they obviously have a plan. They're sticking to that plan. To get 3 linebackers today in the draft kind of blew me away. It was unexpected to get 3 linebackers today.
It was exciting. I think, after the first round, everybody knew, obviously Joe was going to be our top pick. We had some needs, and, I think from the second round on back, we had people that we were hoping for, position we were hoping for, but we didn't genuinely know which direction we were going to go. Take the second round with T. Higgins there, stud wide receiver out of Clemson, with AJ and Tyler back, and John Ross. It wasn't necessarily a need, but man, when a player like that is on the board, and who knows what's going to happen to AJ after the 2020 season, maybe slide in there and fill that role. So I think as we progressed every round, we certainly had needs and things we were looking for, but it was, a crapshoot on who we were going to pick. I think, as Jimmy said, the picks were solid, definitely address needs. I think if you look at free agency with the defensive players we picked up and what we did in the draft, we certainly filled a lot of holes on the defensive side of the ball.
I think my favorite part is just watching the national media actually give us A's, B pluses. Like, it's crazy. I'm not used to seeing that. Not used to seeing that at all.
We got Craig. Craig wasn't live with us on Thursday night, but Craig is, for those, let's see, Craig up there on the screen. He's got a beautiful view of downtown Cincinnati from his house.
And poor lighting, apparently. I'm not a professional like you guys. So got to improve the lighting situation here at some point in time.
Craig, thank you for joining us. Craig's, as I said, an integral part. He's got his bourbon and his cigar. We mentioned Craig and his cigars when we had Alex on from Brazil on Thursday night. But certainly exciting time, as you said, Jamie, to be a Bengal. I think, if you look at the course of the last 3 days, a lot of exciting stuff, and certainly the direction that we're going. And I think we saw character guys. I think majority of them were captains on their team. And you saw that in a lot of the interviews that were conducted, just the head on the shoulders of a lot of these guys that we drafted.
I mean,
So
all
from
winning programs,
Yeah, man. So Craig wasn't on the live stream with us on Thursday, but he was in the chat the whole night. So Craig, now that you're here on video with us, what do you think? What do you think how we did?
I think we did really well. I think we were all really excited after the first 2 nights. Today there's more question marks, but there's more question marks because of the rounds that they are.
Yeah.
But it certainly he gave you more faith in the program. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The whole process. But my God, there's some stacked teams out there.
I know. I know. We start improving, and then everyone else really starts improving.
Yeah.
Like Could the 49ers get any better?
The Ravens, good God.
And they
They're
certainly
14-2, and they just reloaded.
Yeah.
They were 14-2.
They certainly had a large amount of draft picks, at their disposal. And, that's one thing, talking about the draft as a whole, not looking just at the Bengals. We saw a decent amount of trades. We saw one big player trade with Trent Williams today, going from Washington to San Francisco, apparently to fill a need for Joe Staley retiring. But, no other big moves. We saw, quarterbacks, I guess, are always a hot topic. We got ours. Miami got Tua. Jacob Eason going to the Colts today to back up Phillip Rivers, who may be in his last year. I think a lot of people were surprised on Thursday night when the Packers took Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers has, I think, a lot of years left in the tank. They know something that we don't, getting a quarterback of the future already. But, overall, it was good. I think, the one thing, watching last night, I don't know if Roger Goodell was drunk, if he was going to fall asleep. He was getting awful comfy in that chair there. But no technical glitches, which was.
I'm glad he did, because he looked stiff and robotic as possible on the first two.
You know what? I'm actually pretty impressed that there wasn't any real glitches. I mean, they put this together pretty quickly if you think about it. They were hoping to be able to still do this live, even with an empty stadium or whatever. Like, to do it all online in the course of like 30 days or so, pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, they I thought all in all that thing went pretty smoothly. I thought for sure there'd be a bunch of hiccups on it, so it was good.
Well, especially including the fans, like Jimmy, when you guys and when you guys were on the fan cam stuff. I mean, that to not only roll out just the teams doing the drafts virtually and communicate with each other and the security needed for all that, but then to also, partner up with Bose and drop you guys, headphones and set up all these things. Like, that's the amount of organization that goes into something like that is crazy. Guys, the chat's going pretty crazy here. So we'll let people know we are waiting. We do have a commitment from Dave Lapham to come on. We know he did have some other media commitments as well, so he may be tied up with that right now. So we're going to hang tight and hope he can join us. But a couple there, this might be him right here.
This is our friend from Denmark who got up at 1:30 in the morning to join us.
Well, before we bring him, okay, you bring him on, okay.
Jesper, good morning. Hope he's connecting his audio.
We're going to need to go to Lapham as soon as he.
Yeah, no problem. All good. So we'll let Jesper connect his audio. All right, while we're waiting for that, some follow the chat here, guys. Bengal Bobby actually makes a good point. He says 6 of the 7 draft picks were team captains. So we got some leaders on this team now, which is exciting.
Leaders and high character guys, I think.
Now, the other thing too, Kim Stelzer says, what about Tate? No one's mentioning Auden Tate and all this. Everyone's talking about how it's going to be Boyd and Green. And so no one's mentioning Auden Tate. Do you think now that we've, we took a wide receiver with that second pick that Tate falls back? Because, I mean, he was on a progression up this season, right? There's Lapham.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to put Jesper in the waiting room. I'm going to bring Dave Lapham on. Jesper, hang tight with us, okay?
Good day.
The audio connects. There we go.
Hey.
Hey, Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Sorry, guys, I get held up on an interview.
Yeah, I'm sure you're getting pulled in all directions from all over the country right now, Dave.
It's crazy right now. You're right.
Hey, we'll respect your time, man. We'll be tight with it. We'll get you out of here. But real quick, guys, just introduction here. Starting off the night tonight with Dave Lapham, 1974 Bengals third-round draft pick out of the Q's. Mr. Dave Lapham, welcome, buddy. We appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure, Jimmy. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're just going to throw a couple quick questions at you, Dave, and we have a bunch of people online right now that we're going to throw some questions at you as well.
Okay.
Dave, I mean, just to let you know from the fans' perspective out here, I mean, it's the positive vibe and the momentum, the arrow is pointing up with this franchise and organization, and it's continuing to shoot up. not just during free agency, but it's with this draft. I think we're continuing that arrow is pointing upwards, which I love it. Love the direction the team's heading. But with the offseason they've had right now, Dave, with the free agency approach they had, which has been different than in previous years, and the obvious focus and plan on defense, improving that defense, not just in free agency, but in this draft with these 3 linebackers they picked up. Could you just talk to us a little bit about the in your mind, what the plan is, and these 3 linebackers specifically bring some things to the table? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, the last time I can remember the linebacker position being rebuilt through the draft like it was this year was early 2000s. They draft Takeo Spikes and Brian Simmons, and then they draft Steve Foley. Now they did it 2 first-rounders and a 3rd rounder. It was higher draft picks, but same concept. I mean, they committed 3 of their 7 draft picks to the linebacker position. And then they signed Adrian Ross as a free agent. They brought in 4 linebackers. So I'm interested to see if they sign another one in free agency, because they're basically trying to overhaul that defensive middle of the football field, patrolled by the linebackers. They had real problems in that part of the defense last year, missed tackles, missed assignments, things of that nature. So I think this young group of linebackers they're bringing in, each guy individually served as a captain. Each guy has got some mental constitution. I mean, they're all pretty smart. They all can run, and I think individually and collectively they want to be known as the 3 musketeers that turned around the Bengals defense. With that coming to the football team at the same time. And I agree with you. I mean, free agency. I mean, they addressed the defense. They could have 5 new defensive starters in free agency, and Xavier Suolo will be the offensive starter. 6 of the 8 guys will probably end up starting positions. These linebackers are going to fight, to get on the football field. I bet the starting lineup from last year to open the season, the starting lineup this year to open the season, may be 15 or 16 different names. It's going to be a major overhaul. So, yeah, they're committed to. They spent a lot of money in free agency, about $150 million, and a big reason why is, you draft Joe Burrow, commit to him for 5 years, a little over almost $35 million or whatever it is. They know what they've got fixed costs there at the quarterback position, and that's what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. That's what Kansas City, did with Mahomes. Get a first-round quarterback, and you know what your fixed costs are there salary-wise 5 years, and build around them. And that's what the Bengals are in the process of doing.
Yeah.
One question for you, Dave. I think, obviously, with picking Joe Burrow number 1, our new golden boy, as I like to say, leading the troops into the Zach Taylor era, there were some questions about the O-line. Jonah Williams was obviously hurt last year. They gave Bobby Hart a 3-year deal. Not seeing O-line addressed to round number 6. Are they confident in what they have? Is Jonah going to be back 100%? Do they think Bobby Hart and Fred Johnson can tie down that right side of the line? What's your thoughts on that, with them only drafting 1 lineman this year?
Yeah, I do think that they feel like they're a little bit further along than most of the fans do. It is going to be a fight at right tackle. Bobby Hart, Fred Johnson, and the 6th-round draft pick. I mean, he's going to be thrown right into that mix. This kid is a kid out of Kansas. They took in the 6th round. Is an explosive kid. He's got some suddenness. He's got good feet. He's an athletic guy. He played mostly left tackle at Kansas, but he's played both. When he went to the Senior Bowl, they asked him to play guard. He kicked inside and played guard. So he's shown he's got position versatility. And Xavier Suaflo is going to probably be the right guard. Alex Redmond's going to battle with him. Trey Hopkins ended up being the best offensive lineman they had last year, and he ended up being a leader at the center position. Billy Price will back up at center and both guards, in my opinion. I think Michael Jordan takes over at left guard, and then at left tackle, Jonah Williams. They also have Isaiah Prince they picked up, in free agency as well. So I think they feel like some of the bodies that they picked up, it's fairly competitive, but it would not shock me whatsoever if they've targeted maybe at least 2 college free agent offensive linemen and bring them into the mix as well. But I think when they made the scheme change, the pin and pull stuff in the running game, Joe Mixon responded to that. They were like 6th in the NFL and rushing the ball in the second half of the season, and it fit their athleticism pretty well. The kid they drafted out of Kansas is very athletic, so I think if you can run the football I can speak from experience, man. If you can't run the ball, oh, it's hellacious to try to pass block. If you can run the ball, pass protection is not anywhere near as big a challenge. So, hopefully with Joe Burrow at quarterback and Joe Mixon at running back, I'm calling him the Joe Show. We got the new Joe Show, Joe and Joe, quarterback and running back. Hopefully they feed off each other. Joe Mixon makes it easier, pass protect, and easier for Joe Burrow when he runs it, and then Joe Burrow creates more lanes for Joe Mixon to run when they spread the field and let Joe Burrow throw it all over the place.
Nice.
Well, that's good to hear that the Bengals are confident in the line. Certainly, I think that was a concern of a lot of the fans. If you don't mind, Dave, we're going to go to a couple questions from those tuning in on YouTube.
Sure.
Hey, Dave, Jamie here. So it was really cool. I can see you're excited. We're as fans, we're excited too. Like, this draft has been crazy. A lot of people are asking though, obviously we know what the future is for the Bengals with Burrow. People are wondering what's happening with Andy Dalton.
Yeah, that's a great question. We asked Zach that in his post press conference presser, and he said, it's going to be dealt with now that the draft's over with. He said all options are still on the table. He really was non-committal. I was hopeful when the Patriots got that 4th round pick for Gronk. It was like free money. It was like house money because Gronk wasn't going to play for the Patriots. Brady, and Gronk worked it out. So they give up Gronk in a 7th, they get a 4th. So basically getting an additional 4th. I was hoping that they might call the Bengals with that 4th round draft pick that they didn't cost them a thing. And they get Andy Dalton in a trade for a 4th round pick that came out of nowhere, but didn't take place, obviously. So I know the Patriots have an interest in him, but Belichick, man, if there's one guy that's going to, in a poker game, play the poker face and be patient and wait it out, man, Bill Belichick's going to wait for the Bengals to terminate Andy, and then make his move then probably.
Hey, Jamie, we have time for one more. We have to let Dave's got other commitments as well. So one more for you, Dave.
I can do a couple.
Okay.
I was long on the other one, and I pushed my next one back, so I can go for another 5 if you guys want me.
Oh man, we'll take all 5 of those minutes, Dave. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, but any specific undrafted free agents that we're hearing are of interest for the Bengals?
Yeah, they're in the process right now, and the fact that I was kind of not surprised, I guess mildly surprised that they didn't trade back in any of the rounds with the first pick every round, because there quite a few trades took place, but they just across the league, but I guess they just couldn't find somebody that wanted to partner up and give them what they wanted to give up that first pick of the round. And they had guys that they felt were worthy of higher picks the round before, much higher picks the round before. So they ended up staying and picking. But with only 7 draft picks, I would think they'd have more money to budget toward college free agents, maybe be able to sign a couple of, pretty good prospects, because it's all about the money at that time. It's almost better to be a college free agent than get picked at the end of the 7th round, because you're stuck with that organization. When you're a good college free agent that didn't get drafted, and it's simple economics, you got 2 people that want you, boop, you got leverage, it goes up. If you got 3 or 4 people that want you, all of a sudden, you're getting a $10,000 or $15,000 bonus as a college free agent. The 7th round picks aren't even sniffing.
We touched on this Thursday night, Dave, with a couple of our other guests. How much did Zach and the rest of the coaches at the Senior Bowl help them in this draft process?
Huge. They got 3 guys, 3 guys from the Senior Bowl. One that they coached and 2 that they worked against. But even they coached the South, and they drafted the linebacker, from Gaither. What the heck's his name?
App State.
Yeah, Appalachian State. He's got the double last name. I keep blowing that. But at any rate, they drafted him, Akeem Davis Gaither from App State. They drafted him. They liked him. I mean, Akeem thought he was going to go in the 3rd round. He was disappointed that the whole 3rd round took place, and they took him, to start the 4th. So I said, well, basically you're a late 3rd round pick with the 65th pick, the first pick, or the 97th pick, first pick in the 4th round. So, but yeah, they got him, and Logan Wilson played linebacker out of Wyoming. He played for the North, so they got to know him a little bit. And defensive end that Kareem, he played at the he was a Senior Bowl guy as well. So they basically, on Friday, right at the end of the week, Senior Bowl week, every member from the north that they wanted to talk to and have meetings with. They sat down with the offensive line. They sat down with the linebackers. They sat down with everybody. And all that intel, without any potential OTAs, mini camps, and that sort of thing this year because of the coronavirus, they basically had their OTAs and mini camp with these rookies for five days with 60 players that were all draftable. They had it in January, so they got all kinds of intel. They like Wilson, for example, they were unbelievably impressed. He was early to every meeting. He was a quick study, when they installed stuff, things that you don't really know about a guy until you actually spend time with them as a coach-player relationship. So it was invaluable. And 3 out of the 7 picks, that's a pretty high percentage, were directly led to what they did in the Senior Bowl. And that's a good payday for that Senior Bowl, is well-spent time.
With 12 months or so with Zach having the head coaching reins, what would you say is the biggest difference with Zach as head coach from what we saw 16 years of Marvin?
The different approach with the youth, Marvin was more old school. Zach's more, contemporary kind of deal. And I think you're going to see a big difference from year 1 to year 2. Zach put a staff together, was kind of late in the game a little bit. And they didn't really have a chance to even evaluate players, their own players, much before the draft. They were kind of behind the 8 ball. And, they went down this year when they finished the season. They started evaluating their own players. They went down to the Senior Bowl. They put their scouting hats on early as a coaching staff. So the time that they invested in the amount of breakdown that they did on their own players, on free agents, now in the draft with the Senior Bowl, it's night and day. They were so late to the table getting everything together last year. They didn't know what the players could or couldn't do. The players really didn't know what their expectations were going to be. It was just kind of disjointed, And then of course everybody has injuries, but they had some significant injuries. There's no doubt about that. In my mind, there's three pots of players. The injured veterans are going to be back, that couldn't play at all last year, like AJ Green, Jonah Williams, John Ross. Big surprise, he didn't play much because of injury. Drew Sample, their second rounder, doesn't play anywhere near as much as they thought he would as a tight end. Then the 8 free agents, now the college draft. There's 3 different pots that they're going to draw from, and the coaches have a much better understanding of what guys they have, what they can and can't do, and we'll see if the players can adapt to what the coach is going to ask them to do.
Dave, we'll close with the last question here from our chat feed right now. So I know obviously the Bengals tagged AJ here. We've got him through this season here.
Right.
What's the word? What's the what can you share right now? Is AJ happy? Is he okay? We're excited to have him back. I'm hoping the Bengals can come to some sort of agreement on a long-term deal with him. But what's your feel? What's your take on AJ right now?
Yeah, they have till he hasn't signed it. He hasn't signed the the tag yet, the franchise tag. So they're still negotiating. If they come to an arrangement, they have until July 15th to come to some sort of an extension if they so desire between the two of them. Or, AJ, at that point, he loses or the Bengals lose the opportunity to just negotiate with him. And, he signs the tag and then nobody can negotiate with him. He's basically frozen for the year. I think that is maybe the likely case, potentially $18 million for the season. And I think AJ just has to realize, a year and a half of no play, you're pushing 30 years, you're at the 30-year-old mark. I honestly think, though, I watched him up in Cleveland, warm up out in Cleveland before the game. I was like, geez. He looked unbelievable to me. He looked sudden. He getting in and out of his breaks. I'm looking at Bob McNall. I'm like, you kidding me? We can't activate this guy for this game? He goes, I know, it's unbelievable. I think he's going to have a big year. Yeah. So I think if he's franchise tagged, I think he's going to light it up. And at that point, say to the Bengals, hey, you should have talked turkey earlier. I'm going to go out and have the best year I can possibly have, because he might be quiet, but man, I'm telling you, this dude is as prideful an athlete as I've ever met. And when he's got motivation like he has now, he's going to step up. He's going to play big. I hope he stays healthy. The football gods owe him a healthy season. I hope he stays healthy, because if he does, I predict a big season for him.
Good. Well, Dave, brother, hey, we appreciate everything you do, big dog. We're excited as hell out here, man. We can't wait to get going this year, buddy. Thank
I
you.
hear you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about being late. It's been a long 3 days, but it's been fun. That's for sure.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Have a good weekend.
Too. That was pretty insightful stuff there about AJ. That's interesting, you know?
Got our next guest getting hooked up here. Jimmy,
Yep.
if you want to introduce him.
Yeah, I do. Make sure I got my stuff right together here.
Buddy, thanks for being patient here with us. Dave was a little bit late joining us, so he ran a little bit long.
Dave Lapham talked too long. I'm shocked.
Hey, I'd like to welcome Cody Twomey from Fort Worth, Texas. Again, former contributor of Cincy Jungle. He's a national draft expert. Again, a relationship I've been building on Twitter. This guy knows his shit. And we want to kind of just open up, take you for 10 minutes here. We'll throw some questions at you, Cody, and we're going to have some folks on our chat feed right now probably throw a couple questions at you as well. But yeah, just keep this open, man. Give us your thoughts on the draft, man. What are the pros and cons here? What do you think?
Well, first I'll bring a couple of things to you here. I got a couple names. Have you ever heard of Adrian Clem, J.R. Redmond, Greg Randall, Dave Stedlansky, Jeff Marriott? Have you ever heard of any of those guys?
Names sound familiar, James?
Those are free agent signings?
No. Those are the other guys in Tom Brady's draft class, right?
Right.
So the point is, if Joe Burrow becomes what we want Joe Burrow to be, everything else in this class is gravy, right? So, I mean, I think you start off and they pick a wide receiver in a class that's full of wide receivers, a guy that's probably not there at 33 in most classes. He's 21 still. Sure, he's not. At first, I was kind of iffy on that pick because of his athletic profile, but when you look at him, he's still 21. A lot of the people had bad testing at the combine this year. I think due to the new format is a little bit different. And you got an ascending player who has played in big games and knows how to win. And those are things that Zach Taylor said he cares about. And he's a guy that's great at a back shoulder catch. And those are things that Joe Burrow is good at. So it's matching a player to Joe Burrow's skill set, which I think is smart pick, right? And then you go back to back on linebackers, which is you get a cover linebacker in round 3, who I think everyone thought that was at least a decent value pick for him there, or where he would have been picked around there. I think it shows a lot when the Panthers trade right in front of you and take a linebacker / safety that they know that's probably where you're going. And then with ADG or Akeem Davis Gaither, they worked him out at the down at the Senior Bowl, another upside coverage type of linebacker, right? I think we knew they were going to overhaul the linebacker room, but to take 3 guys in this class, I mean, I think it shows it's just Marvin's linebacker group is gone. All of them. And this new class is going to be Pratt. He's going to be your cornerstone player right now. They're going to learn from Bynes, who they signed as a free agent. And Logan Wilson's going to be your coverage guy to start. And Akeem Davis Gaither's a guy that's going to give him some time to learn and develop. And I would say by next year that linebacking group is, Pratt, Davis Gaither, and Logan Wilson. And Marcus Bailey, when healthy, I mean, he had a left ACL his freshman year, a right ACL this year. So he's had some injuries, but when he's been on the field, the 2 years in between that, I mean, people in our area know Big Ten football, right? I mean, he was a big player for Purdue and a defensive captain. So another captain that Zach Taylor picked. So, I mean, I think it's smart to overhaul a room. I think the linebacker position is devalued. So I think it's smart just to take a bunch of picks, especially late picks like that, and you get cheap players. And if one of them hits, hey, that's a bonus, right? So,
Which pick were you surprised the most about, Cody?
Man, I mean, it's hard to say, right? So I think T. Higgins, just because I thought they would go Mims there just from the familiarity of the Senior Bowl, but with him sliding, I think I got some intel that they were a little bit worried about his catch radius, arm length, and I think it's pretty obvious that they meant that when they start talking about Higgins and talking about his catch radius. So I think those are some concerns with Mims, and plus, the tape there didn't really match the player we saw at the Senior Bowl. So, and he slid down the board. So I think they made the right decision. I would say the biggest one that was probably a shocker to me was probably Khalid Kareem in the fifth. Was it fifth? Yeah. I mean, I thought they would take an edge. I think they interviewed with him, but they just hadn't had a lot of buzz around him versus some other guys. And I think he's going to have a Sam Hubbard type of season. I think that's kind of Sam Hubbard is kind of his ceiling. He's not going to ever, like, athletically, he doesn't look like a guy that's going to ever be a world beater, but I think he's a run stopping defensive end that they can plug in if they're going to do those multiple fronts and kind of help them out. I don't think he's ever going to be like a crazy player for them and have a bunch of sacks, but I think he's a good rotational piece that can take some of the burden off of Dunlap this year if they need to get him some rest. I think they're going to try to pull the snap counts back for Dunlap and Geno this year so that when they're in there, they can be a lot more effective.
If you don't mind, Cody, taking a couple questions from those in our chat room.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Cody. So one thing people were talking about, and Dave just mentioned this too when we had him on. Were you surprised all that the Bengals didn't trade down?
I was. I mean, I actually asked Lapham this question a few weeks back for their podcast. I was like, how many picks do you think they'll end up with? And he said 9. And I thought that was about right. I thought they would trade down, but the same person that told me about the Higgins and Mims, kind of that's who they were deciding about in round 2, also told me they tried to find suitors. And I think Lap said this yesterday too. And they just, when you had the board the way it is, a lot of teams were like, why did we want to? So it's like everything, right? When people are like, we should trade Andy Dalton for a 2nd-round pick. It's like, well, if you want to get rid of him for a 2nd-round pick, who wants to give him up, right? If you're so happy to get rid of him, and if we're all sitting there going, they should definitely move down and get more picks, the teams behind them are like, well, I mean, we'll come up, but we're not going to pay you a lot because we're kind of happy to. We got 6 guys we like here, and we're 5 picks away as well. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. I'm sure they had offers, but I bet you teams are saying, we'll give you a 4th-round pick to move up 5 or 6 spots. And I mean, I would have stayed put if you like Higgins a lot. And just, okay, what's a 4th-round pick? And I think they probably thought, oh, we'll trade down in the next round. I bet you they didn't think Wilson was going to be there at 65. So I thought they'd probably pin that one as, we'll trade down there, we'll take something else, we'll get an extra 4th, and then we'll have the extra pick we want. But I was a bit shocked, but when you look at all their picks, I mean, if you like the guys that are sitting there, just go make your picks, right? And if we're going to trust Zach Taylor and this new staff, and they seem very like they have their type of player that they want, if you like a guy, go take him. I'm not going to fault you for that, especially in a year like this where who knows if they'll have training camp to vet these guys out, right? I mean, I was almost like the Saints draft. I loved it because they got rid of all their day 3 picks. They're like, you know, we're going to take guys we know are going to make our roster. So if there's no training camp, we're good, right? So I think that's going to be the hard thing is like, I mean, I don't even care about undrafted free agents. I mean, I mentioned some guys they might look at, but it's going to be so hard for an undrafted free agent to make a team this year because they're going to go with guys they know, even the late round guys. It's like, dude, those guys, they're going to try. I bet you they try to stuff Bailey on a practice squad because he's still recovering from the knee surgery. And I mean, I know he posted some videos a few weeks back that he's like, hitting bags and stuff like that, but he's like 6 or 8 months removed from ACL surgery. Right. So, I think it's gonna be hard to
interesting
guys in there.
It's definitely going to be an interesting off season. And, I think as Jim said earlier, it's an exciting time for us. I think we're moving in the right direction. Joe certainly gives us hope at the quarterback position. Hopefully Andy lands on his feet, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight, Cody.
Hey, Cody, I'm gonna one more thing. Close this out. Give us your. I mean, there's been some. You're already seeing the draft grades come in right now.
Sure.
Pretty high praise across the country, locally and nationally, on their draft grades. So, and your take. What's your honest? I know you're a Bengals fan as well, and you do national things in the draft as a draft expert. give us your take. What's their grade? What do you grade them?
I mean, you got to give them at least an A-. I mean, there's no picks they really reached for. I mean, if you look at last year, the biggest complaint pick we had was Drew Sample, right? They loved him. Everyone thinks they took him a little bit early. They think other people. I mean, there was no pick that stood out, and you're like, man, they took that guy like 30 picks too early. There was none of that. They filled needs with their picks. Even I'm sure you guys know Matt Minnick that writes for Cincy Jungle.
Yeah.
He loves Hakeem, the offensive tackle / guard they took. And he's been working with Duke Merriweather, which is a guy who used to be Draft Twitter, big dude. He runs his own like offensive lineman, training facility. And the guys that he has have a really good history of like at least sticking in the NFL. I mean, he gets a lot of guys that, they get taken in the late rounds and they make it and they become contributors. So, I mean, even all the way down, you got guys that you think, their last 2 picks, I think both those guys make this roster at some point. And that's really hard to do. So, I mean, I think you got to give them a solid A-, even with, if you're saying you're a Bengals homer, call it a B+, but I think they're right there.
Damn it, Cody, I had an A++ on this damn thing.
Well, I mean, you can look at anything and say, oh, the upside here is great.
Right.
But I think they took solid picks. I think they were smart because they've got Joe Burrow coming in. I mean, as a Bengals fan base, we have not been more excited except for the kickoff before that 2005 playoff game. That's the last time we've had this same kind of excitement. And he gives you that. So what do you want to do in your first class with Joe Burrow? Hit the ball down the middle of the fairway. So Logan Wilson is a guy who's got a lot of productivity, 4 years in college. Same way with Hakeem. Same way with even Khalid Kareem. I mean, these guys all played a long time in college and produced. So you get to put the ball down the middle and make sure you don't have any whiffs in Joe Burrow's first class.
You got it. Cody, man, it means a lot, brother. We're pumped. We things are moving in the right direction for this team, and we're pumped about it.
I agree.
Thanks for being here.
Anything else, guys? All right, take it easy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's bring Pete Johnson in, guys. He's been waiting in our waiting room here. Here we go.
I've been texting with him here the last 10 minutes, so.
See if the audio's connected. There we
Pete,
go.
can you hear us, buddy?
I can hear you.
What's up, big dog? How you doing, man?
Not much, Jim. What's going on?
Man, life is good. Welcome, man. Welcome.
I've been trying to get on.
Yeah, we got you. So I got this introduction for you, Pete. All right. 1977, second-round draft pick out of The Ohio State University. Led the Bengals all 7 seasons in rushing. Mr. Pete Johnson. We're happy to have you, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah.
One hell of a draft, huh?
Man, let's talk about it, man. So I know I don't know how much you've watched of it, but what's your take on the draft?
I thought we did a pretty good job. I would much rather got rid of the first round pick and got some more help and more draft choices.
Yeah, you just wanted more running backs and fullbacks, didn't you?
We need some linemen too. It ain't too much you can do without them.
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to see some of our Buckeye wide receivers they picked up because we had some great ones.
Yep.
Speaking of that, Pete, why do you think KJ fell so far into the 7th round?
Hey, there ain't no pill some of these coaches can take for stupid. He should have been. He definitely was a first rounder.
Yep.
Hey, that really, the guys, they do their best. The Bengals don't have and a lot of other teams, they don't believe in the scouts and they go by that combine. And, he ran the 4.4 40, and they let that speed control what they do and how high they can jump and all that. But you still got to play football. And AJ is a football player.
Yeah.
We talked to Kenny the other night on Thursday night, actually draft night before we took Joe, and he talked about his draft day experience. Obviously, they didn't have ESPN back then. Can you tell us a little bit about your draft day experience?
My wife and I was talking about this the other day, and I don't remember talking to the Bengals until my agent called and wanted to get a meeting with him. I don't remember him calling, but back then it wasn't that many people had cell phones, even though I had one, but they don't have all the guys' address and phone numbers and stuff like that. One of my assistant coaches, John Johnson, called me and he had heard from Pete Brown that the Bengals drafted me, and that's how I found out.
Okay. Where were you when that happened on draft day?
Oh, I was in my living room, relaxing. Cause see, Dallas was on the phone with me earlier that morning, and they were going to draft me, but then they did a last-minute deal with Tampa Bay for the first-round draft pick, and they took Tony Dorsett, but they're going to take me, and they had a pick in the second round. But the Bengals beat them to it.
Yeah. Hey, Pete, I remember a couple of years ago at one of the tailgates. Oh, by the way, I'm going old school glass here.
Oh, I hear you.
And we got a little bourbon. We know you like the bourbon, so we got some.
But, the crown. I got my crown.
And Chris is also joining in, has your jersey on that you're signed for him at one of our tailgates a couple of years ago.
Awesome.
Hey, so I remember a story you were telling. I don't know how long it was at the tailgate. I might have been drinking at some point, so hopefully
You think?
I hope I heard this correctly, Pete. So you were talking about, we've been struggling with that damn team over East, that Steelers team, which, we don't like very much. But, man, when you played, man, you guys took care of business against the Steelers.
We owned them.
Yeah.
I just wish you could have won a few other games. I remember when the Steelers won the Super Bowl, we were 4-12, 2 years back to back, and 2 of our wins was against the Steelers, and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also got to play with Archie, right?
Oh, yeah. Archie and I played together 3 years at Ohio State, and we played together at the Bengals.
Yeah. So, Jamie, I know there's some things going on in the chat room. People want to ask Pete some questions. You got one?
Yeah, for sure. So we got a guy in the chat named Jungle Joe. Pete, what's your most memorable moment of your career?
All of them. Hey, well, yeah, let me tell you, every year I tried to get better and better. We had a great team, some great players, and the one that's still alive, we all still stay in touch with each other. I went out, I played for Woody. And my great-grandfather also, he always taught you always do your best no matter what. So every game, every year, I did the best I could. He said, you do your best all the time, you'll never have any regret.
So watching the Bengals play now, Pete, who's your player that you like the most, or who's the player that represents what you did back when you wore a Bengals uniform?
Well, it's a different game now. The linebacker that they got rid of because he got too many penalties, he was my favorite player because he was a real player, but he played football the way it's supposed to be played. But anymore, you can't go all out, it seems. Football is a gladiator sport, and they trying to make it was a touch football type deal.
That's funny. So there's a question that came out here. I chuckled when I seen this question pop up, Pete. I don't think you can see these questions, but I'm not going to pronounce the name right. Man, Ababashan just asked Pete,
okay,
yeah. Was Jack Lambert afraid of you?
Man, the whole Steelers defense was afraid of me. Okay, what? I probably enjoyed playing the Steelers. If you had a team, you had to enjoy playing as much as being the Steelers. And one reason, they didn't run from you. We'll play team, and the linebackers become defensive back. They be pelling backwards. But the Steelers, they all play, they're going to come after you. And I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've got Craig here. James pointed out Craig with his 46 jersey on. He's obviously a huge fan. James, can we unmute him? Do you have any questions for Pete, Craig?
He's there.
I was wondering, when was the last time you got to Columbus for a Buckeyes game?
I go to every game, every home game. We tailgate. We do the biggest tailgate there is.
Wow. I want to know where that is.
So what was it like playing for Woody, man? How crazy was that?
Now, that was awesome. Woody, one of the greatest coaches ever, and just a great human being. He loved his university. He loved his country, and he would do anything for anyone. I remember there was days I'd get in his El Camino with him, and we'll go visit people at a hospital or, go to schools. Just people that heard were big Buckeye fans, and that's just the kind of guy Woody was. His first book was You Win with People, and he lived it.
Nice. So talk about Forrest Gregg. How was it like to play for Forrest Gregg? I mean, he turned the culture around.
Woody and Forrest is my two favorite coaches of all time. And, talking about another great man. And I never forget the first day he walked into the meeting room, and guy was, he was mad, and he started yelling, you guys think you're going to get somewhere by sticking your head up my ass? It ain't going to happen. He said, if you got a problem, we're going to select captain. You tell your captain and let them come to me. I said, yay, we finally got a real man coach. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And then he's like E.F. Hutton. When he spoke, you listen.
James, Jamie, we got anything else? I know we got a bunch of stuff going on there.
James, I'll let you if you got something.
Yeah, one last question, Pete, and thank you for taking the time. And it's been a couple of years since you stopped by our tailgate, so definitely this year, if everything gets back to normal, we'd love to have you stop by again, have a beer and some food and chat. But as far as what it was like back in the day when you played, what was there a stadium where, man, you just hate going into? Maybe the fans were super obnoxious. Where did you love the fans, the booing and what it was like playing on the road?
Oh, I just loved it. I love playing it. It didn't matter what stadium, whether it was in Denver or where. And Woody always had this saying. He said, you got to get the fans sitting on their hands. And that's what I always try to do. And I've tried to hurt their player. And pretty soon you'll hear people in the other stadium going, Pete, Pete, Pete. And that's what my key to know I'm really taking care of business.
That's funny. Well, Pete, we got one more question for you, and thanks for joining us. But somebody's asking right now, who is the meanest player on the Bengals you ever played with?
The meanest or the toughest?
But call it the same. Toughest and meanest guy you've ever played with.
The toughest was Jim LeClaire.
Oh, really?
He's the toughest linebacker I ever played against. And, that's in practice. I'm not, you hit him, it was like hitting a brick wall. Yeah, I tell you, there was no better linebacker I played against than Jim LeClaire.
That's awesome. Well, Pete, you take care up there, brother. It means a lot. You coming on with us. It means a lot. We hope we got to see you this year, okay? If not,
well, you will. Last year, did you tell the guys last year I come and looking for you, and I go there and they trying to build. I don't know what they building out there.
They're a music venue they're building in there. But we got you this year. I'll get a hold of the guys and we'll get you back over there this year. We got some stuff to show you. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Mike Brown and see can I get a pass. I'm gonna bring my motor home to one game.
Hell yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Pete, thanks, buddy. Be safe.
Hey, thank you guys. I'm glad I finally got on.
Yes,
Lude, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers, Lude.
Hey.
Thanks, Pete.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Well, again, we want to thank you, Jimmy, for lining up all these guests. We had a great lineup on Thursday night, and we got Pete and Lapom tonight. And we want to thank Jesper here, who's joining us all the way from Denmark. For those that were with us on Thursday, we had fans from around the globe, and Jesper and his wife and his son and daughter have been to the tailgate several years. And welcome. What is it, 2 a.m. over there, Jesper?
Yeah, just about 2:15 in the morning over here.
Hey, Jasper,
Nice to see you guys.
you need your beauty sleep, man.
Yeah, I know that.
What'd you think about the Bengals draft?
I don't even know what they got for the last rounds, but the top 3 picks was good. I think exactly what we needed.
Now tell everybody who your favorite Bengal player was, and then you attended the Jacksonville game this year and got a chance to meet him.
Yeah, that was all-time. That was Icky Woods, my all-time favorite player. That was awesome to meet him. Right now, I don't know who. I don't have a really favorite player. I'd like we have a top linebacker because linebacker was always my favorites. So we need that. Somebody dominant on defense.
Yeah.
It's been a big free agent. I'm sure you followed and we touched on it. Defense has certainly been a big part of free agency. And then we picked up 3 linebackers today, defensive end. So I think we saw that point this year that defensive side of the ball is something that we're looking to change. And I think Lap touched on it and Cody touched on it earlier as well. This is a first full year for Zach. We came in so late with the Rams going to the Super Bowl in 2019 and really got a late start from the coaches. And as they said, evaluating the players. So very excited to see what is going to transpire in 2020 once we get back on the field. Jasper, you and the family going to make another return trip over Cincinnati once all the dust settles?
That's for sure. We'll be back. That's for sure. But I don't know when. It's not cheap to go all the way over there and buy the tickets and all that. But we'll be there again sometime within a few years.
How do you watch the games in Denmark? Is there like a subscription over there you have to get?
I use Game Pass.
Game Pass. Oh, they have an international one, eh? Okay, cool.
Yes.
So
But we
Jasper,
have it on television as well. The Danish channel, Channel 3, that shows it. But it's about the same price, and then I cannot pick my own games. I mean, they pick a game each week and broadcast one of which games, the 1 o'clock, the 4 o'clock, and the 8 o'clock in the evening, something like that. And the Monday night they broadcast, but they pick the games, not me.
yeah.
Right.
So you couldn't get the son and daughter to get up at 2 a.m. to join you?
No, and not the wife either. They're sleeping.
Jasper, it's funny, obviously you've been to the tailgate. So we were talking Thursday night about the map. You and family came in and dropped the pen on the map and dropped the pen in Denmark. And we talked Thursday. We've had people come in from 24 different countries to the tailgate. Tell everybody how. I mean, it's intriguing to people. How in Denmark, what got your Bengal fandom going? How did it all start?
It started back in '88 when Danish television started broadcasting just the 1 hour recap of all the games. I don't remember what the show was called, but I saw that every Monday evening, and that's when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, and I've always been a Tiger fan, so it was easy to pick the Bengals to become a fan of the Bengals, and then I just stayed on, even though it was a rough time in the '90s, being a Bengal fan, and I just love the uniforms. Now that I've been to the tailgate, I fell in love with that as well. It's. I wish we had something like that in Denmark. Me and this guy, Kim, we are trying to establish something. He's the head of the Danish Bengals fans Facebook site. Well, that's it, more or less.
That's
Along
awesome.
the lines, we had one of the guests, I believe, from London on Thursday night, and he talked about the tailgating's just not as big in Europe. Is that true? You know, when you guys have your soccer matches and that everybody's at the pubs as opposed to hanging out in the parking lot before the game?
Yeah, not much in the parking lots. It's more the pubs than getting drunk. And unfortunately, we are not as blessed with the crowd and the stadiums, because there's a big rivalry between teams, and they often some of the spectators would get into fist fights, and also innocent people walking by would get caught in it sometimes with so we only go to the games that is not supposed to get the team that I root for is smaller teams in Danish soccer, and they are also called the Tigers, and they don't have a history of violence, but there's some of the teams that have the bigger teams as violent groups.
To the friendly games.
Yeah, I go to the
Came over and you saw a tailgate for the first time, where you're like, what the heck's going on? What's wrong with these people? They're crazy. Everybody's getting along, having a good time.
I remember coming down there the first time. I talked to the fan shop, and they told me they start about 8 o'clock. So I walked out the hotel 8 o'clock and into the parking lot and saw Jim with his bus. Walked over and said, "Hi, you look like a nice guy." And yeah, he said, "You too." And then we start talking, and I was invited in. And then when the family came down a bit later, we walked around the whole thing, and we were offered so many beers and sausages, hamburgers, cookies, wine. Yeah, crazy. But it was so fun to talk to everybody. Everybody was amazed that we came from Denmark and wanted to watch. Hi, Canon.
Famous. All the way from Denmark.
So it was just it was so warm and welcoming. And yeah, I met you guys, and it's
I think
miss
that's something we take for granted over here. We just used to going to big sporting events, sitting in the parking lot, drinking beer, whether it's a concert, but it's interesting to hear, for what you guys do over there. That's what we take for granted here. You guys don't do over there. And
we drink beer too and eat sausages and burgers, but unfortunately some people get violent.
Well, we appreciate you getting up at 2 a.m. and joining us. This will be on YouTube, so you can, when the wife and kids wake up tomorrow, they can log on and check it out. And it was an exciting night, I think, as Jimmy said a couple of times, and Jamie, it's a great time to be a Bengal. I think Joe Burrow has us all excited about what the future holds. We're glad, everybody's safe. We're going to talk. We're going to do some more of these, and certainly focus and show our international presence that we have as part of Bengal Gyms, and always looking to make it bigger and better, and can't wait for the 2020 season to start. Jim, anything else you'd like to add?
No, just want to say thank you for inviting me into the tailgating and into this, and good to see you guys again.
Yes,
the future looks bright.
Yep. Thanks for being on, buddy. It was good seeing you again.
Appreciate it, man.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Hey, so it wasn't a so remember Scott Gibb Thursday night, 2:30 in the morning. I thought Jasper might have a few too, but
Jasper mentioned he had a nap before, so I don't think the other guy naps. I think that's the trick.
So
hey, guys, before we go, can I ask you a question? Just we got some people watching still. I just want to ask, because you guys run the tailgate. Can you get a little bit behind the scenes of what goes into getting the tailgate set up? I mean, I know, I drive down, I walk over, it's already all set up. Like, when do you start planning for next week's tailgate?
We just do it the night. Jamie, we just do it the night before. It just all pops up by itself. We're good, man.
How much time goes into it? Like, how much work actually goes? I mean, it's obviously looks like a huge undertaking.
It is, but to be honest, if it wasn't for people like Jasper and all these people we talk to Thursday night that come in from out of town, and I mean, been doing this since '93. At the end of the day, my love for the city and that football team, the Cincinnati Bengals, keeps me going through the good and the bad. That tailgate will happen continuously. It is a long process. I mean, James, Craig, me, Dell, Ryan, Bruce, it's a big undertaking. All of us have our own responsibilities, but I would tell you, I'm sending text messages from Sam's at whatever Saturday morning or Thursday or Friday with these guys, and
who's got the ketchup?
who's got the ketchup? Who's got the
dude? I put on major festivals for 30,000 people, and I almost do as much work for a tailgate as we do for some of those festivals. And there's always one thing. There's always one thing that, as experienced as this tailgate is, we forget.
There's one thing we always count on. Craig's going to be late.
Oh, nobody stopped for celery. Oh, I guess Bloody Marys won't have any celery this week.
We've had Bloody Mary bars. We've had Bloody Mary bars without celery because we forgot the damn celery. I mean, it's all good.
I've been there for a few when the auxiliary cable was missing. I know that.
So I know we have a few minutes here. I just kind of want to recap. Man, I mean, we're not professionals in this. We're fans doing this for fans. And I tell you what, Thursday night was just a blast. And it was amazing. I think we had 1,600 views now on that thing. We had a boatload of people on there. People are starving for this because right now with the COVID and everybody staying at home, and the unbelievable chat room that we had going, and Kenny Anderson was awesome. It was just, it was great. And then tonight for Dave Lapham to take time, guys, you have to understand Dave Lapham's schedule on draft for a couple of days during the draft. He's getting pulled in 1,000 different directions from local media, national media. Awesome that he took 10, 15 minutes with us. And Cody from Fort Worth, Texas, the draft expert, very good guy, very good follow on Twitter as well. And we were supposed to have Pete Johnson Thursday night, and Pete thought he was on, and maybe the technology got to him a little bit, but we walked in, we held his hand tonight, we got him on because Pete Johnson is truly a Cincinnati Bengal legend, and he's tailgated with us every single year for the past 5 or 6 years, except for this past year when our tailgate kind of got moved with all the construction. But to hear the insight of Dave Lapham today about AJ Green, I thought was intriguing. I mean, you could tell there's some things going on there. I personally feel that the arrow is pointing upwards. Like I said earlier in the year, this franchise is going in the right direction, and it's fun to see all the positivity and the things going on around this organization, not just with the free agency, but this draft, how successful we think this draft is. Things are going in the right direction, guys, and I'm jacked. There's going to be some more things happen, I think, here with some of these unrestricted free agents and some other things going on this offseason. But guys, I as a Bengal fan, as diehard Bengal fan, I am totally excited about what's happening right now.
In the unrestricted free agency, there's always that chance to find that diamond in the rough. That's where we found Pete Johnson's favorite current or ex-Bengal in the modern era with Vontez Perfect. So leave it to Duke and the guys to kind of mine through that. I think Dave also touched on, it's better to not get drafted in that 7th round and be able to choose where you want to go. And maybe we'll see some of that from the experience that Zach had at the Senior Bowl with some of those guys that possibly didn't get picked up. But I think, we'll see a couple more linemen signed in the next couple days. And as you said, Jimmy, it's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
I think you've created a monster here, Jimmy, because people all throughout Thursday's show and this one saying that they really enjoy this little fireside chat. They want to see us do these more often. So
yeah, I tell you what, we were talking about this offline after Thursday. Guys, we didn't know what we just tapped into with this. The guests have been amazing. The interaction's been great. We're going to have to continue this. This has been too much fun. I don't know. Guys, I would really like everybody that's still on right now, if you could send us direct messages, whether it be through Facebook or Twitter, however you're following us right now. We would love some feedback from you guys. We've already got, I'm not exaggerating, it's dozens and dozens and dozens of messages about how do we continue doing this? Is it a monthly thing? Is it weekly? When the season starts, do we do post-game, from the parking lot, maybe still have post-game analysis and feedback? We're going to figure something out.
There had to be a breathalyzer before we're allowed to.
That's true.
I was getting friend requests.
Maybe not live.
Friday.
Maybe not live.
Good point. Well, guys, here's what we'll do. Just stay tuned. We're going to continue to figure out how to move forward and do this at some sort of regular basis. And we just started doing this Thursday. This is our second live feed, so we had fun with it. It sounds like a lot of people are having fun with it. We appreciate you guys tuning in and following us. And we're going to get something else going. So stay tuned. We're going to get some information out about what we're going to be doing moving forward. Thanks guys, and Hoo Day.
Have a great night. Stay safe.
Hoo Day, baby.